in, in welcoming to the stage Nasiruddin Shah, Girish Karnad, and they will be introduced by Nasreen Muni Kabir. This session, And Then One Day, is proudly presented by Dainik Bahaskar.
Afternoon. Is this working? Yes, it is. I can see that everybody's tiredness after lunch has disappeared at the sight of Nasiruddin Shah and Girish Karnad. And I'd like to make my introduction extremely brief. It's very, very exciting to be with people who know each other very well and whose lives and careers have actually crossed in many different circumstances. You know, there was a time when you would go somewhere and someone would say, "Have you seen Nasir's new film?" And now everybody says, "Have you read Nasir's book?" So this afternoon, Girish Karnad, who actually met Nasir in 1974, I believe, when he was the director of the Film and Television Institute, and he introduced him. He spotted Nasir's talent and introduced him to Shyam Benegal, and all the doors of filmmaking opened, and Nasir's talent took over. Before I take too much time, I would like to say that we're going to hear a very exciting session, a conversation between two great minds and two history makers in both television and in the theatre. Please join me to welcome Girish Karnad and Nasiruddin Shah.
Thank you. Do we start?
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it over for Nasiruddin Shah and Girish Karnad.
Okay. Well, it's nice to be here. It's nice to be here with Nasir, who was my student, and to welcome his new memoirs or autobiography, whatever you call it, And Then One Day. As it happens, I have also written my memoirs this year, but they're not written in English yet. They are in Kannada and in Marathi, but not. The one thing about writing memoirs is those who are not included in it get upset, and those who are included in it get more upset because they feel you've not done justice to them. Now, with Nasir, what's happened is that I'm in his memoirs naturally, and he's in my memoirs. So there's a lot of cause for both, upsetment and appreciation, I think. So let me start off by quickly getting to let me make it very clear that this is a launch of Nasir's book. And it's not about me. I'm here because I was the director of the Film Institute for 2 years. He was my student, and he is one of the most distinguished students that I have produced, or the Institute has produced, or Indian cinema has produced. And one is proud to be, to call oneself his guru, although I don't think I took a single class with him anyway.
No.
No. Let me sum it up. The point was that he was a very difficult student. Yeah, I know.
Now we get into
now we'll get into the actual nitty-gritties of it, actually. And he and his friend Jaspal, I want to get this out so that we can get to the real
meat of the matter.
The real meat of the matter. I want to talk to you as an actor and not merely about the institute, because we were there together fighting it out. And he and his friend Jaspal, carried out a strike against me when I was the director, which nearly ruined an entire year of my teaching, first year at the institute. And ultimately we sorted it out one way or another, not satisfactorily perhaps. And there is an interesting episode on that, and I thought it would be make a nice Rashomon kind of thing if you talked about it first and then what the problem was, and then I talked about it. And then we'll proceed from there. What do you say?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So first of all, what I'd like to say is the strike wasn't against you. The strike was not against the director. The strike was against the whole philosophy that existed among the students, that actors were in some way special and that they had special privileges where the casting of actors was concerned. Our objection was that the actors should be considered technicians like any of the other technical students. If it is not permitted for you to get a cameraman or an editor or a sound recordist from outside, why should you be permitted to get an actor from outside? Otherwise, why does the acting course exist? If there are going to be students who go through their 2 years without facing a camera, and that really was the case, I'm not exaggerating. There were students who never got a single assignment in any classroom exercise and spent 2 years there and with a diploma in film acting, and they'd never faced a camera. So our objection was really this, that the direction students should restrict themselves to the actors who are available to them, in the same way as they restrict themselves to the equipment that's available to them or to the technicians that's available to them. A direction student can't start asking to make a film in Technicolor with helicopters and with a three-dimensional look, because that's not available to you. Anyway, the opposite view was that this was limiting the vision of the directors if they were to restrict themselves to only the acting students, most of whom the average age was about 25. Perhaps the oldest student there was around 25, and the youngest sometimes as young as 16. And there were many problems with that course and the approach of those actors, but this was really what our point of view was.
Shall I take over?
Your witness.
Well, the point was, of course, that the direction course went on for 3 years, the photography course went on for 3 years, the acting course went on for 2 years, and they were very young. And a tradition had been set, as Nasir quite correctly said, where the directors could choose whom they liked. Now, this was obviously unfair and it was unjust, because the sad part, in any institute, most of the students are not very good. They've come and they've joined in, and some students are good, but these direction students got it into their head that they were Fellinis and Antonionis and so on, and they wanted people to. And this had been encouraged in the institute. So when I joined the institute as the director, I said, I'll change this, but I can't change the syllabus for the final year students. It's not done. They had already been told, they were there for 3 years, they were in the 3rd year. So I said, I'll change it from next year, but this year I can't do it because they will go on strike. And you know what happens if direction students go on strike? The whole institute comes to strike. So, but Nasir and Jaspal, if they will agree, were a bit hot-headed on this issue.
Yeah, sure, we were hot-headed. We were kids. We didn't know better. And we felt very passionately about it.
Yeah, this I agree.
And we felt that why is this judgmental attitude existing in a training institute? We were not at liberty to turn down a film that we were offered, which means that we accept that the direction students were better qualified than us, had learned more in those 3 years. They were qualified to pass judgment on our abilities, but not the other way around. I thought that was pretty unfair, and so did a lot of the other actors. I think Jaspal and I were spokespersons to express the dissatisfaction that was generally felt among the actors.
I agree with that entirely, but the point is, when you're an administrator, there are certain things you can't do. You can't say, well, to a 3rd year student, I've changed your course from this year, and when they have been told for 3 years that you can take whom you like. What I did promise was that each would be given a film, and that was given to them,
Right.
At the end of it. But the net result of that strike, you see, the point is, the acting course was conducted by Taneja in a slightly confidential manner. He wanted them away. He didn't like others come, and then I was a director, I was an actor. So if I came, Taneja sort of looked at me as though I had come to
Spy.
on his. So the one advantage was that of the strike was that I discovered how talented Nasir and Jaspal were. Because I saw them shouting and screaming, and I said to Mrunal Sen, God, they are good. You know, they can use their voice, they can use their bodies and so on, and Mrunal agreed with me entirely. Well, anyway, to cut a long story short, because this is not an evening about that, but so I'll cut. What happened was I had to break the strike, and fortunately in those days, in December when this happened, there used to be a film festival in Delhi, that time, not Goa, like in Goa now. So I said to the students, go to Delhi, cool off, see for yourself all the films, come back, then we'll discuss this. They all went. The moment they left, I locked up the institute. And I said, you either listen to me or I'm not letting you in again. And I had at that time, I think I told you, even hints from the ministry saying, if you want to sack these two leaders, Jaspal and Nasir, we will back you up. But I said, they are the best students. I don't want to lose my best students. I will have to sort it out. And then I sorted it out. The unfortunate consequence of my action, which was to break it and say to Nasir and others, you either accept my terms or you will not be admitted, which Nasir agreed to and Jaspal didn't, was that it broke Jaspal as a person. There's a very talented and gifted actor. Anyway, while all this was happening, Shyam Benegal had said to me, I want an actor, I want a young actor, but not someone who's sort of chocolate box, you know, not someone that's sort of starry-eyed, not starry-eyed, not the sort of chubby and this sort of Rajesh Khanna type of person. I want someone normal, simple, you know. Send him. So I sent him. He has always told me I sent the wrong person. But anyway, I sent him, and lo and behold, Shyam cast him. And in Nishant, we both acted together. With the net result that there has always been an accusation against Nasir that I bought him out. You know, that I sort of, but anyway, be that as it may, unfortunately it destroyed Jaspal, who was a very, very good and very powerful actor, and we went on. Now, I will end the story there at the institute, and the two angles. This I couldn't really say to them, now look, as an administrator, I'm helpless. You know, if you're an administrator, you don't do things like that. So one didn't. Well, one thing, Nasir, reading and incidentally, let me tell you that my own history as an actor is that I completely became an actor by accident. I was not interested in films. I didn't see Fellini or anything. I read a Kannada book called Samskara, a novel. It seemed exciting. I felt we must make a film. We had a small group of amateur actors, and we made this film, Samskara, thinking that would be the last film we would do. We had no money to cast a professional, so the main role was taken by me. The heroine's role was taken by the producer's wife, and the director's title went to the producer. And we thought the film was made in 95,000 rupees, and it was promptly banned by the government. So we had to fight it out and so on. But then when we released it, the same ministry gave it the President's Gold Medal for the best film of the year. That's democracy, you see, working. So I suddenly became an actor, because nothing succeeds like success in a film industry. They're not interested in talent. I had a successful film, and then other considerations came in. So I'm really the opposite of what Nasir is. Nasir has been passionate about acting right from the beginning, and you see his whole journey. I just landed there in films, and even to this day, I have never attended a single class or workshop or anything. Now, would you like to talk about your... You see, because you went through the National School of Drama, you went through the Film Institute, then you also worked with Grotowski in a different, not so very... Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, I'd like to say that it was very interesting to refer to what Girish was saying earlier about the casting in Nishant. I learned later that there were a number of other actors who were in the running, but they were all turned down because they were too good looking.
Yes,
and I had lost a girlfriend because she thought I was not good looking enough to be in movies. And I got the role in Nishant because I wasn't good looking enough. But I looked right for the part. And it was serendipity that I was performing a play. It wasn't only the shouting at the strike, it was also a performance I did in Delhi, which Girish witnessed, a
Yes,
play called
I-
The Zoo Story. And then he spoke to Sham, and Sham called me, and within 10 minutes or so of looking very closely at me, told me that I had been cast. And as I've written in the book, I went home, went back to Pune astride a cloud. And I think of all the parts I've played in movies, Nishant is the closest to me because I really empathize closely with that person. He's very much like me. I've been the youngest of three brothers. I've been the butt of ridicule. I've been the slightly stupid person. I've been the one who makes mistakes, the one who gets easily smitten, etc. Just like the character in Nishant. So it was a greatly fulfilling thing for me to play that part, as well as the second one in Manthan, which is a completely different role, and which is really the film which generated work in my direction, because when my part in Nishant was not a very dramatic one, though I think I did well, but I got no work after it. After Manthan, work started coming to me because, as Javed Akhtar told me, that he said it was after seeing Manthan that I realized how good your performance in Nishant was. It was so radically different, and then it just started happening. And there was a phase in my career where I was without work between Nishant and Manthan, and between Manthan and Junoon, where I was offered the kind of roles I dreaded, I would be offered. The policeman who cops a bullet in the first reel, the union leader, the elder brother, the doctor who comes out and says, "मैंने injection दे दिया है," or "कोई अपनी जगह से हिलेगा नहीं," police officer. I really thought these were the parts I would get, and I was willing to do them because I thought at least I'll be able to feed myself, which is what drove me to the Film Institute. I didn't think I'd learn anything there. I went there with a very condescending attitude that I need the passport into movies.
I'm going to ask one question on this. You said that these roles were very different, and you have always been known as an actor who can create different kinds of roles, at least perception. But in the book, you always come to some role and said, "At last, I didn't have to create a character. I could play myself." It's as though creating a character was was for you a burden.
Because I used to at that time use real life models, which I realized later on was a mistake. And I realized that I should not have a preformed picture of the character in my head. I should try to discover the potential of being that character within myself. So that is why it was a great relief to play something like Sparsh or Masoom, where I did not have to think of a whole way of behaving and practice it and so on, where it was my reflexes that were needed. And that's really, I think, an important part of it all. That I think we have every kind of potential within us. We have to
I want
it.
to make one point here because I don't want to come back to that, which is that his first film, as he said, Nishant, was by Sham, and my first film in Hindi, Nishant, was by Sham. And Sham Benegal was a kind of alternative cinema at that time, where, you see, you must remember in those days, in a film like Sholay, every star, big star, Amitabh Bachchan, Dharmender, they were all in Sholay. And every multi-starrer had all the stars. So the whole thing was squeezed. There was only one man who'd sort of say, "This is the kind of film I want to make." He took us, he made the kind of films he wanted to make. And he continued then, once he had his faith, to cast the same people, build up. This was essential. I think this is...
in fact, if you look at it, he's the only one who really discovered a whole team of actors.
Team of actors, yes.
Way back in 75.
He
all
was
of us in Nishant, and he continued to cast us all. And after him, I don't think there's been another filmmaker who's introduced so many actors in one movie.
And they all loved him. Sham was a very paternalistic, I don't know whether that's the word. I mean, he sort of didn't guide you too much, but he'll let you ease into the role.
Yeah, he made you feel that he cares.
He cares, yes, I know. And his wife also was a good hostess and invite you home.
Yeah.
And Shyam was a kind of director, psychiatrist, bank, if you wanted loans. You know,
Kindly uncle, yeah.
As we needed in those days. So he sort of served several functions.
But also, Girish, before the Shyam's movies, which of course were greatly inspiring to someone like me, when I saw Shabana in Ankur, and I just felt, wow, what a great performance. And apart from that, what I felt more thrilled about was not only that a woman had got to perform like this, got a part like this, but that I could get a part in this movie too, at some point. In fact, the Police Patel looked a little like me. I often get congratulated for my performance in Ankur. There's two actors from Ankur. Dalip Tahil also was in it. But I got really, but before him, there were the movies of K. Abbas.
Yes.
The songless Sheher Sapna, Asman Mahal, the very economical black and white movies made with two unknown actors who remained unknown, unfortunately. But those were very movies which I saw in school and which affected me greatly and gave me hope that when I become an actor, I could get parts in movies like this. And that's more or less how it panned out.
You have also spoken very highly of how Shabana, being Shabana's partner in a film, was a great help. How you responded to each other and how it helped you build various films.
Yeah, people have this label now called good chemistry, and they say so and so had good chemistry. I think this whole business of good chemistry is basically just having a regard for each other and giving each other the space to perform and offering help when you feel it's needed. That is what I understand.
I think I would like to give an example.
Actors.
Shabana is here. I hope either I don't embarrass her or whether she may have forgotten. The point is there was a scene in Nishant. As you know, as I said, I was a completely untrained actor. I didn't know how to emote or what to do. I mean, I had not been to workshops, and there was this scene between Shabana and me in a kitchen, and we were supposed to talk and we were supposed to be affectionate towards each other. And I just couldn't get it. We kept rehearsing it, and I was all dry. I wasn't becoming the affectionate husband. When, you know what Shabana did? Shabana put her right foot on my left foot and gently rubbed it outside the camera. You know that the camera was on our faces, of course, we were remoting. And that did it. Suddenly I felt, yes, we are married couple. And the scene worked. Now that kind of a response, I have always remembered.
I wish I'd known this in 1970. When I first saw Girish, it was 1970. I was the first year student at the drama school. Girish was very famous as the writer of Tughlaq and Hayavadan and Yayati, but Tughlaq and Hayavadan mainly. He turned up for a seminar. There were lots of other worthies there. There was Mr. Utpal Dutt, there was Satyadev Dubey, etc., etc. But Girish Karnad was the one all the girls were cooing over. And it made us mad as hell. Yeah, because, look at the way listen to the way he speaks. Listen to his voice. And I love that beard. Girish had this beard, and so did I. I also had a khadi kurta. Yeah, but it didn't work the same way. So I could have told them, all it takes is just slip your foot under the table.
Well, if you put your foot under the table and rubbed my foot, I don't think it would have worked, I think that would be a different script altogether. Yes, so let's go on from there. But you have been, would you like to continue? We see, what happens in Indian films or Indian theatre is people become stars and then they don't learn. There is no dissatisfaction with their craft. But in Hollywood and so on, England, you continually come across they're going to renew their craft, coming back, going to actor studio and so on and so on. You have done it all the time. I mean, you've gone to this, you not only, so would you like to?
Yeah, I never became a star. I think that's one reason. And I have to admit that it was disappointing because it was something I really wanted, like any actor. We don't become actors to serve art. We don't become actors to do meaningful cinema. We become actors because we want to be famous. So it does hurt that I could never succeed in commercial movies, but I've been able to swallow and digest that. And not becoming a star helped me to concentrate on things which I really found I love. I mean, being mobbed and signing autographs and getting photographed is not a thing I really enjoy. Hanging around at home, playing tennis with my sons, going for a swim, going for a picnic, just doing nothing, and working on a play, hobnobbing with people I get along with. That's what I really enjoy doing. And I've been able to do that. And I've always felt that...
This is where, sorry, I'm going to cut you. This is where, unfortunately, the effect of the Film Institute, the philosophy behind Film Institute, I felt was all wrong. The first thing I did was to stop all their camera testament, because Film Institute seemed to believe that if you are handsome and if you are good looking, you would get a job in the Hindi cinema,
Right.
while the industry
Yeah.
was full of handsome people.
You were immediately slotted. Hero, villain or comedian, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely, you see. And it was no point training these people, but the feeling was that, oh, if you're not very good looking, I'll give you I'm going to, sorry, you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to butt in for a second to say that I remember very well, in reference to what Girish is saying, when Om Puri was being auditioned for the Film Institute, I was sitting there as one of the helpers, and one of the gentlemen on the board turned around after Om's audition, which he did excellent, and said, he's a very good actor, but he doesn't have a cinematic face.
In fact, the entire
I was
jury,
aghast. You remember this?
the entire jury rejected him, except for an actor called Jaydev and me. Of the 10 people, everyone said, but yeah, he's a very good actor, but he won't fit into films. So I said, I will now do what I've never done before, which is to overrule the jury, and I admitted Om into the institute. So, but that was that kind of an attitude in the institute.
It was.
Also, there was, and again, I'm going to anecdotal, then I'll come back to your film. There was a strange attitude of the industry towards acting students, you know. The year Om was selected, because he was selected, because, you know, I finished 10 classes, and there was a young boy called Dilip Dhawan who came. He brought credentials from about 14 filmmakers, and Taneja, this said he's got 14 credentials, we must admit him. I said, no, but he's not good enough, he's not 10. And Taneja said, let's put him as the first on the waiting list. And I fell for the trap. And I said, yes, we'll put him on the 11th. And within 3 days, I had a visit from Raj Kapoor. Raj Kapoor, I was having a session with my actors. Raj Kapoor came and said, Girish साहब आपने क्या किया? मैं दुबई से आया तो मातम हो रहा था मातम. So I said, what is the matam about? And he said, we, 14 people, 14 producers of the industry, we have recommended Dilip Dhawan, and you have not admitted him. So I said, can I show you that these 14 people have never employed an institute student in all these years? You know, you only recommend, but you never employ him. So this went back and forth and back and forth. Ultimately, I said to Raj Kapoor, you employ Dilip Dhawan, you give him a role. Allah. And he said, Girish साहब, मैं जो करने आया था, वो मैंने किया है. तुम्हें जो करना है, कर लो, he said. And he got up and he left, and as we were leaving, I walked with Raj Kapoor and I said, Raj Kapoor coming is a very big event, it's not so easily done, so I'll admit Dilip Dhawan and so on. So Raj Kapoor went home, called Dilip Dhawan and said, I have got you admitted to the institute, now don't ask for a job. So that was it. Anyway, they're full of stories like that of how the industry, actually, the institute was geared to the industry, but the industry didn't want the institute boys. They had their own sons
And the direction course was geared towards producing a whole lot of mini Fellinis who could learn how to scratch their beards, basically.
Yeah. Anyway.
Completely diverse. And I was always of the opinion that actors and directors should be trained together. It's a very nebulous thing. You can't define what it is that makes an actor, what kind of training an actor needs. It's basically a question of widening the person's horizons,
How
giving
much time
them
do we have?
self-confidence, and putting them in a comfort zone. Are we through?
No, we were not through. I was just checking because I wanted Nasir to read a couple of passages from his autobiography. It's beautifully written, so this is not a session just to celebrate an actor. I wanted this as a session to celebrate a writer. So let's come back to it, but would you like to read 2 passages?
Yeah, if we have the time. Yeah? So there's this passage which, no, it's not the page, which I'm often asked to read, and it gets a little bit difficult, but I'll give it a try. This is about my dad. He and I never had a pleasant time together. In fact, we seldom spoke. I don't think we ever touched each other. When I was a kid, I perhaps remember him carrying me around or something, but after that, I don't remember him so much as holding my hand, you know. And it never healed, and it is something which I have to live with. And then one day, he just went and died. And I heard about it, and I flew to Delhi because he was being buried in Sardhana, which is a small tehsil near Meerut, which is where my family comes from. Ammi, that's my mother, was Ammi was remarkably composed when I met her. Her last 30 years had gone by sharing his life and serving him ceaselessly. Now the pivot of her existence was gone. The three of us were able to spare less and less time for her. She hadn't another involvement she could immerse herself in, yet she was holding back on the lamentation. We knew, though, how deeply grieved she actually was, and that suppressing one's grief is not always good. We feared she wouldn't last long after him, but the old girl had more spunk than any of us gave her credit for. She not only squared her little shoulders and tackled life on her own terms, she outlived him by almost 20 years and had the time of her life reveling in her children's successes. I couldn't get there in time for his funeral. There's another long story to that. I couldn't get a ticket on Indian Airlines. So I got there the next morning after he'd been buried. The day I arrived in Sardhana, I visited the mound of earth that was Baba now. And we had the first of many conversations I was later to have with him. That day I talked to him about the film I'd just done, which was Godhuli, directed by Girish and Karantji. I felt his amusement at my playing a shaven-headed Hindu priest. I told him about the one I was going to do, playing Sarfaraz, the mutineer, and that I was modeling the way I would look in the film on portraits of my Afghan ancestor. I could virtually hear him chuckle. I told him about my dreams and my doubts, about Ratna, who he had never met, about how much I was now earning, anything that came into my head. I knew he was listening and responding. This was an actual conversation in which I took the initiative for perhaps the only time in my life. I suddenly began to feel the weight of all I had lost out on and would never regain, and I was surprised by how much I suddenly missed him. A few years later, I had a dream in which I see myself seated as for a job interview at a long, polished table. Seated on the other side of the table is the interviewer, Baba, looking beatifically happy. And he says to me, "Tell me about your father." I proceeded to enumerate the ways he had failed me, how I had never felt loved or appreciated by him, how I never got what I wanted, how I hated his judgmental nature, his narrow worldview, his negativity, etc., etc. As I quite unemotionally poured out in a steady stream all I had in life never been foolhardy enough to say to him, he quietly listened, not saying a word, and looking into my eyes, as if understanding perfectly what I was talking about. Through his life, he had never seemed so much himself, so approachable as he was in that dream. When I awoke, I felt as if my troubled relationship with Baba had achieved closure to some extent.
That's a very beautiful passage, actually. Lovely. Any other passage that you would like to?
Yeah.
Yes?
There's one which is...
It gets into your blood, so... Yes.
This was just after I had done a most wonderful film called Sparsh, and I had bought this new car, a second-hand new car, which collapsed as soon as it reached Delhi, and spent the 2 months in a workshop, and then was repaired just in time for us to drive back to Bombay in it. And I had a different set of passengers. Renu Saluja, most wonderful Renu Saluja, the editor, and motor mouth Vidhu Vinod Chopra. The return journey turned out to be somewhat more exhausting than the 45-day shoot had been, as anyone who has had to listen to Vinod Chopra non-stop for a couple of days will promptly attest. The absence throughout the shoot of any kind of stress was thoroughly compensated for in this 2-day journey. So, and then I had to go straight the next day into the shooting of Akrosh, which was hardly a cheerful thought. But I got barely a day's break between arriving in Bombay and leaving for Alibag. It was a wrench coming from the gentle, dreamlike world of Sparsh to the hard-edged portrayal of small-town corruption and its constant progenitors, lust and politics. In the one day I was in Bombay, barely had I cleared Vinod Chopra's voice out of my head, then I was called to meet with one A.V. Mohan, a B-grade filmmaker who had produced various horrors in the past. This time he promised me a truly fantastic film and hero role, sir. So I went along, my mind jingling to the tune of plenty more change in my pocket, and a hero role, not a namby-pamby like Sunaina. Mr. Mohan, who for some reason prefixed or interspersed anything he said with the words matlab, went straight to the heart of the matter. You know, Hollywood film, Jharba Greek, sir. Matlab, we making that only. Amjad Bhai playing Greek man, you matlab playing young hero. I had been told I was getting nothing at all for Akrosh. Petrol costs money. I just bought a car and the pay packet was 30,000 rupees, so I didn't take any time at all to say yes. That being settled, there remained the small matter of the script itself. Imtiaz Khan, elder brother of Amjad Khan, who was to direct, walked in shortly after and proceeded to narrate a script that the final film not only bore absolutely no resemblance to, it was one of the most entertaining and moving scripts for a popular Hindi film I've heard to date. He was just making it up as he went along. I went away deliriously deluded that my breakthrough in popular cinema had finally arrived. I now badly wanted a home of my own, and this film could start to do that for me. And I had loved Zorba the Greek anyway, and Amjad Khan, now quite a phenomenon, and I were to co-star, and I was to play the Alan Bates part with the dance on the beach replaced by a fight on the beach, of course. This film, after a mind-bogglingly disorganized, incompetent, troubled shoot and half a dozen title changes, disappeared so fast no one took any notice of it. So my career didn't receive another body blow. But had I the faintest inkling what I was in for during its making, even the prospect of getting a home to myself would not have made me accept. I think Girish has done many such films also.
Well, I think I should tell this particular episode. You probably don't even know another connection between us. And this is how it happens all the time. He got the national award for that role in Sparsh. But 2 days earlier, the role had been offered to me by Sai Paranspe. And Sai and I were sitting at a party and we were getting drunk. And by 2 o'clock, I was completely sloshed. And she said, I'll wait for you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Of course, there was no question of my getting up by 10 o'clock. I mean, I was completely out. I woke up at 4 from Ganga Vihar, something like that. And then I rang Sai and I said, Sai, sorry, I didn't ring. And Sai said, you didn't come on time. So I've given the role away to someone else. So I said, who have you given it to? She said, Nasiruddin Shah. I said, if it's Nasir, that's all right. There is a Sanskrit proverb which says, Shishad Ichet Parajayam, accept defeat from your disciple. Well, that was one example of the many that I was. I keep looking at the watch because I want to give some time for questions to come. But there are two aspects of his life that I would quickly like to mention is his dedication to theatre. Right from the beginning, his comeback, and this is something that's bound us. I have not been very active in theatre, but I have been writing plays, and theatre is something, to me, is what I live for. I'm not really a film man. But Nasir has really, and secondly, Nasir has really made efforts to teach in the National School of Drama as well as in the Film Institute. Would you like to talk about it?
And also at a place called Whistling Woods, which is not a convalescent home, though it sounds like one.
Yeah.
It's a film school in Bombay. And I did that for 2 years continuously, full time, and abandoned it. It was an attempt to sort out for myself, I've realized, a lot of equations regarding acting. I don't know if those stints did any good to any of the students, but did me a great deal of good. And I was able to sort out a lot of things in my own head. Also interacting with youngsters gave me a lot of joy and a lot of rejuvenation. And in any case, acting is a thing which is learnt over years and years, and you can't expect immediate results. And initially, when I started teaching, I was inclined to be disappointed because I've spent 10 days on these guys and they don't understand a thing. But then I realized it took me many years before I understood anything. So 10 days is not much. So I don't now teach on assignment for 10 days, 5 days. I work with the actors who are regulars in my theatre company and who I can work with continuously. So it's really a question of helping them learn, because acting is learnt. It's not taught. There are no formulae, there's no textbooks. There's nobody who can help you. It's a very lonely journey, but it's great fun to be on your own while you're an actor. But it is a lonely journey, and it's something you've got to do on your own. You might find a few people to point out a direction to you, but you've got to do it on your own. You can't depend on anybody else. So that is what has given me the joy to continue. The fact that I found meaning in my work, I love it. I would do it even if I weren't paid a penny for it. I would do it, I would have continued to do it perhaps, even if my life had not turned out as well as it has. That's purely hypothetical, but I think I would have. I like to think I would have. It's just the business of acting is something I love so much. It's my way of getting across.
This is the last point I'm making before throwing it out, is that we both went through the parallel cinema, went into commercial cinema, Hindi cinema. I was very unhappy with this in commercial cinema because I didn't know Hindi. When I acted with him, when I acted with Shabana, if I saw Amitabh Bachchan acting, I felt, God, they know the language from inside, and I don't. I know the dialogues, And that feeling of being inside the language is very essential. Also, somehow, the commercial scripts, I made a lot of films. I've forgotten them all. Never, as you said, you earlier quoted, "My injection de chuka hu." That kind of thing can happen anywhere. I was doing a film called Shama with Shabana, and I was playing the Nawab, and I was the Nawab who dies tragically and so on. And right halfway through, Kader Khan gave me a script and he said, "Ye aapka next dialogue hai." And the dialogue started with, "Shama, mere bhai ne is khandan ki izzat ko dhool mein mila diya." I said, "What? In 1970? I mean, surely this was said in 1920s and not in..." But
it's still said.
So that kind of things happen. In Kannada, I could fight it. I could suggest alternate thing. I couldn't do it in Hindi, so, well, I did it.
Yeah, well, like I couldn't do it in Kannada.
Yes. He acted in a Kannada film.
I acted in his Kannada film and acted in one more. Then I made the cardinal mistake of taking on a Malayalam film. Whoa.
Yes, sir. You see,
and I just gave up. After 15 days, I just gave up. And if the dialogue had no labials, I would go 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And if it had labials, it would be 294, 596, 200, etc., etc.
I must tell you why I made him act in a Kannada film. We were doing a film called Godhuli with the Kannada version. It was a bilingual film. And in the bilingual film, Anant Nag was supposed to act, and suddenly he got an offer from Shyam Benegal. So we were left without. And Nasir says that he was more foolhardy than he would be today. And he said, I'll do the Kannada version as well. And he did the Kannada version. I mean, he learned, we sat a week in advance. I would tell him what the roles are and so on, so on. And do you know, his performance in Kannada was better than his performance in Hindi. And that's not an accident, I think. I think that is because his concentration was so focused
greater,
in
yeah.
Hindi, you know, so that he didn't miss it. In Hindi, once he did the Kannada version, he just sort of took it.
Yeah, we always did the Kannada shot first because I was more worried about it. So I guess, yeah, that's true. The Kannada version exists, by the way. The Hindi version doesn't.
Didn't run in there. Okay, I think we should probably open it up if there are questions. Please, my request to everyone is don't make speeches. We make speeches. You just ask questions. Okay, so where shall I say? Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Shah, we can see the dance in your eyes and your speaking. To me, it seems.
Do you want to talk about today's
To me, it
cinema?
seems you are saying a lot of things with a great laugh and abandonment. Is there something philosophy behind that one? There is something serious behind your profile or whatever you say.
No, that's all a sham. It's a big act.
Yes,
I'm here on a stage with Girish Karnad. I mean, I can pretend to be an intellectual. I can pretend all right. That's what I've been doing all my life.
Nasir, would you say, and this is something I'm now coming in, is that when I see today films like PK or see a film like Haider or a film like, you know, so many, even a small Wiki Donor and so on, I feel the films really are much better than the ones we were involved in.
Yeah.
You know, there's more seriousness, they're technically better written, there is more commitment. I mean, think of the enormous risks taken in Haider or in PK or whatever it is. I think that's, it's not just, you know, flag waving.
But if that had not been the case, wouldn't we be deeply disappointed?
Yes, we would.
Because it is the evolution of filmmaking that is taking place in this country, a bit slowly, but it's certainly happening.
And as Sham once rang me and said, have you seen Date Ishqiya? I said, no, I haven't seen it. He said, 20 years ago, we couldn't have made this film, so you go and see it. So I went and saw Date Ishqiya. So,
Yeah.
Shabana.
Nasir, during Nishan, not Nishan, but Manthan, you famously did
Have
have
a
a
bath.
bath for 40 days
No,
because
that's-
you were playing the character.
Yeah,
Can you imagine what happened to all your co-actors?
Look,
But tell me, have you traveled a long distance since?
since then.
And then, how do you approach it now?
Yeah, see, this thing of bath, I always had a problem with bathing. Because at the NSD and at FTI, NSD was Delhi. We had to bathe with cold water in winters in Delhi, you know. That was not great fun. FTI also, it was cold water. So bathing, I was kind of, you know, here I got a chance not to bathe for 45 days. Didn't seem to matter to anybody.
Okay.
I did make a big song and dance about it. I was in the habit of doing that. I don't need to do it anymore. Let's say I've found my shortcuts now,
Well, that's how acting.
which you found just much before me. But I finally found them. I had to go this circuitous route. I had to go a long distance out of my way in order to come back a short distance correctly. But my approach is quite different now. It's been too long since we worked together. It's high time we got cast together again.
Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah.
What was it like working with Peter Brook? Grotowski was a disaster. That they can read for themselves.
But that was a disaster too.
Yeah. Oh, was that a disaster too, Peter Brook? I see. Then let's skip it.
Yeah.
This is not an evening for disaster.
No, it's not an evening for disasters.
We're trying to celebrate. Yes. Short question.
I thought I'd read more about your different performances.
Yeah? But why? Why did I talk about my
Yeah, I know.
performances? I've talked about the influences which worked on me. I've talked about the things that mattered. I've tried to talk about why, according to my own understanding, I became an actor. I've talked about my love for it. I've also tried to talk somewhat briefly about how I began to learn, about my attitude and so on. I don't
I think you know.
Yeah, it would be
not
of any
much
interest.
more is
If I were to
required.
recount in this role, I did this, in this role, I did that, in this role, I did that, that would be too boring.
I shaved my head in Goduli.
Yeah, which is now considered a huge
Yeah,
If an actor turns up on time, that's considered an accomplishment, you know. An actor shaving his head is the supreme sacrifice.
Yeah. Yes. After this.
You see, I wanted to know from you about one film which, to me, when I saw it, I still today think that was the best of your film. But I want to, because it is never talked about, the film is Chakra, where you played a very, very negative role, and Kulbhushan Kharbanda played a role of a truck driver. And Smita Patil was opposite you.
Yeah.
And we never knew what happened to that director. Nobody talks about him.
Unfortunately, that director passed away before the film was released. It was very tragic. Robin Dharmaraj, his name was,
Yes,
Rabindra
I know.
Dharmaraj. Before the film was released, he passed away. He had an
Yeah.
ulcer which burst, and he never lived. It was the first of those NFDC movies which succeeded at the box office.
Yeah, I know.
It was unlike, it was almost in the category of films like Ankur in terms of its box office success, for completely different reasons, of course.
वो माइक वहाँ दीजिए.
Yeah. But it is now a pretty much remembered film. And I'm personally not very fond of it. I like some sections, but it's not among my favorite films.
Yeah. Yes.
You
I ask?
mentioned your looks were a deterrent. What do you think was special about you?
Everything
What,
else.
what in a few words, what is it that makes you?
2 words. Everything else.
Well, I must tell you that when he was at the institute one day, Nasir turned up looking very concerned and said to me, I want to talk to you about something. And I said, yes, about what? He said, I am a Muslim. Will that matter in Hindi films? I said, and then secondly, you know my face, my chin is very weak. You know, that'll come in the way. So I said, Nasir, everyone knows Dilip Kumar is a Muslim and it hasn't stopped him from becoming the top. And I was prophetic. Now there are more Muslims in the film at the top than there are. So the second thing is, I said, now look, think of someone like Alec Guinness. Think of, you know, people whose real advantage has been is that their face is not, they are not Richard Burton or someone who goes, man, I'm doing this kind of. So it is an advantage. It's what you do with your.
One of the things that I did manage to answer, I think that's what you were getting at. When I came to terms with the fact that I did not look like Gary Cooper or Shammi Kapoor, I started to examine my face, and I've written quite a lot about it in the book, to see, because I was resolved that I would be an actor and nothing else. From the age of 13 or 14, I had decided this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And so I would spend endless minutes in front of the mirror, examining my face and seeing what it was. And I realized that what I have is perhaps the ability to alter my face. And I realized this when I was very young. I could not wait for my beard and mustaches to start growing so I could experiment with how I looked with this and how I looked with that. And my greatest achievement was once my mom didn't recognize me when I went home.
Yes. Okay, not too
Could
many.
I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please.
Right. You mentioned that you've been working basically now only with actors from your school, but you did come to Pakistan and you trained the actors over there. What motivated you to do that, and how did you find the students who
Well,
learned acting?
they were completely raw. None of them had acted before. And I offered to do it because the filmmakers were somewhat lost as to what to do. They had no clue or how to handle a bunch of youngsters who have never faced a camera in their lives. They did not want to cast the somewhat known television actors because they felt that those actors are too mannered. I don't know if that was a wise decision, because getting these kids, I had 10 days with them, and it's very hard to comprehend the process in just 10 days. So I tried, but I don't think it really affected them much. And what really happened was they ended up giving the kind of performances they watch on television, you know, without having the expertise of knowing when to tone it down, when to heighten it, etc. So I don't really think those performances work, which is why I've said before that, you know, working with youngsters probably gives me more than it gives them. But I hope it kicks in years later.
Talking of mannered acting, I must mention a remark of Satyajit Ray, Manikda, who once said to me, you know, Girish, I mean, he didn't think I was much of an actor, so he could sort of confide in me without any kind of this. And he said, you know, Girish, when I see these young people who come from the National School of Drama now, he referred to you and Shabana and Om and the lot that he was coming. He said, I just realized that all these years, the Bengali actors I've been working with are so mannered, he said. That's the word. They're so mannered. They have a particular way of delivery and they won't reach out to themselves.
Right.
You know, which was...
Yeah, and I think Shabana's gone, but I think she merits a round of applause for having broken this type of the woman, you know, the suffering woman.
Just tell us when we're running out of time.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
That lady
Okay.
is...
Yes, please ask, quickly.
All right, very quickly. 70s and 80s were a wonderful era when we produced some brilliant actors. What does the future hold for us? Do we get another Naseeruddin Shah? Do we get another Shabana Azmi? Do we get another Smita Patil? Another Rompuri?
Well, I hope you'll get better actors than those. Why should I hope that the next young bright actor should become another Naseeruddin Shah? Oh no, that would be a curse.
I think there are very good actors out there.
I think there are wonderful actors around among the youngsters.
Actors. In fact,
there's a whole generation of
they are
absolutely
better actors
wonderful,
because of the tradition handed down by
absolutely.
Naseer.
These guys, and I would rate actors like Irfan, Arshad Varsi,
yeah, exactly.
Manoj Bajpayee, Vijay Raj. They are better, far better than we were at that age.
Do you want to explain? Do you want to tell you on this of the scene with Dilip Kumar or not? For Khai that you did, that was done.
That will
No, let's skip it. Yeah, because the whole.
You heard it?
One minute.
One.
You have
that
already
lady
asked.
at the back in the blue and the white dupatta.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, she's been very desperate for a long time. Will someone give her a mic, please?
Sorry, we can't waste our 1 minute.
Okay, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
देखिए ये एक्टरों को गलतफहमी ये होती है कि मेरा किरदार तभी बनता है जब मेरे बहुत सारे डायलॉग हों। एक जोक है इनफैक्ट कि एक एक्टर ने एक डायरेक्टर से पूछा कि ये पॉजेस में मुझे क्या करना चाहिए, तो डायरेक्टर ने कहा कौन से पॉजेस, जब दूसरे लोग बोल रहे हैं तब।
Yes. Can I ask you a question now?
So
wait,
a
let him
character
finish
having
the
dialogue
answer.
or not dialogue is not important. It's what the character does and what you can do with it. आप वहीदा आपा के performances देखिए प्यासा में, कागज के फूल में, जहाँ इनके silent scenes हैं, और आप देखिए इतना मतलब मेरे ख्याल से हिंदी फिल्मों में ऐसा seductive गाना आज तक नहीं बना है जो इन्होंने किया है प्यासा में. Round of applause for Mrs. Wahida Rahman, please. The greatest actress we've ever had. Ji.
Even in Guide, I must say that
Guide.
was a terrific performance.
Seeing a film of yours or Om Puri, or for that matter Shabana Azmi, Smita Patil, and today, Amir, we feel deeply impacted once we come back home and think about your roles and your movies. But unfortunately, or whatever I may differ, Amitabh Bachchan doesn't have that kind of, it's not lasting. So why is he overhyped? And at the same time, he may be the actor of the millennium, but I feel you have an edge. You, Om Puri.
I'll tell him that.
Please do.
When I meet him, I'll tell him.
And also your role as a Ghalib,
Okay.
Mirza
Enough.
Ghalib in the TV.
That's all right.
Thank you very
We will
much.
not go on. He has the advantage of being younger, So, over
Right.
poor Amitabh. Amitabh is in his 70s, so somewhere it's going to be a problem. Yeah. Yes.
Hi. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Is that a question or an answer?
Let's not talk of obvious things. We've been talking. Yes, please.
Hello.
Sir. Yes, give a mic there. Kahan hai mic? We have to finish.
Hello.
That I would like to do. Oh yeah, I feel that about a lot of my work. And I'm not being modest. It's just that I think I've learned more over the years. I've discovered that there is no such thing as a perfect performance or a perfect actor. there cannot be. There can be a perfect painting, there can be a perfect book, but there cannot be a perfect actor because you change every day. You find out more about the character as you grow. So if I had to do Ghalib again today, I would really sink all my teeth into it. I think I would play him less sentimental than it was, though I had to,